What's up, guys? Nice to see you. Welcome back to the channel. You're watching Everything Weapons. U.S. Coast Guard seeking technology to hunt and kill uncrewed underwater vehicles. The risk of attacks on ships and port and harbor infrastructure from UUVs is growing, and the U.S. CG wants defensive solutions. So it's getting to the point where we're getting the U.S. Coast Guard looking for a way to kill unmanned underwater vehicles. That's how big of a threat submarines and microsubs are just currently. Iran has a bunch, China has a bunch, everyone has a bunch, and they are incredibly effective if a country has a bunch of microsubs. So this is really interesting. This is from the War Zone. Subscribe if you are new and if you want to stay up to date with everything war and military related, from the ongoing conflict with Iran to the Ukraine war and hotspots around the world. Aerial drones have proven to be extremely dangerous and effective weapons, and a mad rush is on to counter them. It is a technology race that makes the headlines on a near daily basis. However, a similar but far quieter and less visible threat is emerging below the waves in the ocean, and now the U.S. Coast Guard is looking to do more about it. Faced with a growing threat from uncrewed underwater vehicles, or UUVs, the U.S. Coast Guard is seeking technology not just to detect these weapons, but to defeat them. Ports and other maritime facilities are vulnerable to these kind of attacks, and our adversaries surely know about it. The effort is being led by the Coast Guard Futures Development and Integration Directorate, which oversees research, modeling, and simulation, technology forecasting, and even field experimentation. It is part of the service's role to protect U.S. maritime assets, and comes as adversary militaries and non-state actors alike are developing a wide array of UUVs for surveillance, strike, and even sabotage. UUVs are increasingly used in both public and military maritime operations due to their versatility, stealth, and ability to operate in challenging environments, the Coast Guard noted in its request for solutions posted Friday on the government's online contracting portal. They say, quote, "However, the proliferation of UUV technology has introduced new threats to maritime security. Malicious actors can employ UUVs for a range of activities, including intelligence gathering, surveillance, smuggling, sabotage of critical infrastructure, and even kinetic strikes. The covert nature and advanced navigation compatibilities of modern UUVs make them difficult to detect, track, and mitigate using traditional maritime interdiction methods and tactics. The most vivid example of this threat took place in December when Ukraine claimed it used a UUV to strike an improved Kilo-class diesel-electric submarine in the Black Sea naval stronghold of Novorossiysk. Ukraine's state security service told the War Zone at the time they used its sub-sea baby UUV to navigate through the harbor and hit the sub. It remains unclear how much damage the sub sustained. However, the incident showed Ukraine was able to slip a UUV into a heavily defended harbor in daylight, not even during nighttime, and detonate its warhead next to a prized Russian submarine worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And perhaps this is what we're going to be seeing in the future of warfare. We're going to be seeing lots of microsubs and subs take out ships in harbors, even during the daylight, because it doesn't even matter. And I mean, it's better nighttime, but then logistically more difficult. But we're going to be seeing this a lot. The US did it recently. I made a separate video about where we used a kamikaze type vessel. In an earlier example of these vehicles being used as a weapon, the US Navy found itself having to fire on a threatening Houthi UUV in February 2024. If you'd remember. And Hamas used UUVs even before that in an attempt to attack Israeli naval assets in 2021. And There are really two areas where these technologies land in general, providing early warning and tracking of UUVs over larger areas in coastal and harbor defense, the inner layer where UUVs are arguably most dangerous. For the US, persistence and broad area undersea surveillance coverage has historically been provided by large networks of static hydrophones that are extremely costly to establish, operate, and maintain. They were also designed to detect large submarines, not far smaller UUVs. The US Navy's Cold War Sound Surveillance System network is perhaps the best known example of such a system. Portions of SOSUS, for short, do remain in service, but are now used more for scientific research than watching for foreign submarines. SOSUS has been largely supplanted operationally by a mix of fixed sensor arrays, surface ships, towing sonar, and processing stations ashore, known collectively as the Integrated Undersea Surveillance System. Last year, the Warzone highlighted alternatives being developed by industry. Anduril's readily deployable undersea surveillance system called Seabed Sentry. It used networks of small and relatively low-cost modular sensor nodes to detect and track undersea threats. Anduril, working with Ultra Maritime's Sea Spear deployable sonar system, demonstrated the latest iteration of this system during the Navy's recent Lanternfish exercise, which brought together the US Navy, United Kingdom, Ministry of Defense, Explosive Ordnance Disposal Units, Royal Australian Navy, UUV operators, and defense industry professionals to build seamless interoperability, according to the US Navy. The inner layer of defense benefits from ongoing development and evolution, from sensors for detecting divers and objects to marine mammals that can do the same. Still, UUVs offer unique new challenges to contend with. Last month, the Naval Surface Warfare Center, Panama City, and Unmanned Undersea Vehicle Group, executed a multinational harbor protection demonstration to show how the advancement of technology plays a crucial role in protecting the Navy's assets during Exercise Baltic Operations 2026. The demonstration showcased three emerging technologies, including an expeditionary air curtain, an artificial kept UUV net, and seawater neutralization charges, which are designed to counter UUV threats, the release added. The expeditionary air curtain is a rapidly deployable underwater system that is used to protect mission-critical assets below the waterline. The air curtain defends against UUV threats and can be used at naval bases and military installations, as well as ports and harbors, by aerating the water to affect the UUV's depth sensors, acoustic sensors, buoyancy, and propulsion. We are testing the air curtain to see how it disrupts and hinders UUV sensors. It is a quick expeditionary solution because it can be deployed easily, said Javi Handal, a senior electric engineer with NSWC Panama City. He did not provide any further details about these systems. Regardless, the Coast Guard is looking to industry for other options. So the Coast Guard said it is specifically interested in solutions that have been tested and demonstrated to be effective in operational settings with a technology readiness level of 5 or higher. The Pentagon describes the 5 or higher readiness system as systems where the basic technological components are integrated with reasonably realistic supporting elements, so it can be tested in a simulated environment. Examples include high fidelity laboratory integration of components. The requested technologies should be capable of supporting ports, waterways, and coastal security operations, addressing the unique challenges posed by UUVs in these environments, the Coast Guard added. The Coast Guard is limiting its search to only systems with an effector or with direct mitigating compatibilities or with detection, tracking, and identifying and mitigating capabilities. Submissions that do not include defeat capabilities will not be considered at this time. Interested parties have 2 weeks to submit their proposals. As Ukraine proved last year, the threat from UUVs is real and growing, giving adversaries hard to detect and difficult to defeat autonomous weapons that can be launched from great distances and potentially operated in concert. The Coast Guard request is the latest example of the U.S. government's increasing effort and concern to get after this new emerging threat in war. Thank you guys very much for watching. Smash the like button. A thumbs up is greatly appreciated. Subscribe, especially if you are new. Why not? Takes 1 second. Most viewers don't even hit the sub button. Ring the bell if you don't want to miss any video we post in the future. Check out my older content on the channel, guys. Lots of military update videos to binge watch. And I do history as well. Be sure to follow me on Instagram, follow me on Rumble and X down below. Links are down below. I'm on all social media platforms, so be sure you're following me on there. You've been watching Everything Weapons. Until next time, I hope you guys have a good week. See you in the next one.